What's up? What's happening? It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube where you see, is that Capital One Arena you're sitting at? Oh, it sure is. It sure is Capital One Arena that I am at today ahead of the Bulls and Wizards tonight, NBA Cup action. So, Anthony, basically I had to come see that big fancy red floor for myself.
Was it hard on the eyes?
No, I feel like it's easier on the eyes in person. I feel like one of the weird things about, and obviously it's a Vibe Check Tuesday. We will get into all the football here very, very quickly. And we actually have some breaking roster news in 30 seconds. But just to finish the thought, on TV I often feel like it's hard to tell that it's a wooden floor. It almost looks like a sport court situation. You can tell it's wood when you're in person. You're like, oh, that's an NBA floor. It's just painted funny. So that's that.
Yeah, I got to see it for myself then. I just got to wait then.
Okay.
It does look very, very tough.
I mean, if you want to come after we're done today.
I could do that too.
You could. We can get you in here. Anyway, apropos of none of that, it is a Vibe Check Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show. And it's a Vibe Check Tuesday that starts with breaking news. The Commanders have placed Austin Seibert on IR. So that hip either got re-aggravated, wasn't good enough to kick in the first place, and he passed whatever tests, and that was a bad idea, or they were like, look, buddy, you can be on IR, and you can rehab for a bunch of weeks here, or we're going to cut you. And he was like, I'll go on IR. So it looks like, I would imagine, Zane Gonzalez is going to be the kicker for the Commanders. He's still on their practice squad. They can call him up one more time. But in the immediate or I guess 2 more times. I think you can call a guy up 3 times from the practice squad, and I think he just kicked once. And in the meantime, the Commanders signed Chris Rodriguez back to the team. Now, Austin Eckler is not on IR, so even if he's out this weekend, I guess they don't think he's going to need to miss multiple weeks, which is honestly fantastic considering how scary that injury was in the moment. The Commanders also released Marquise Hayes, a guard from their practice squad. They signed a defensive tackle, Viliami Fehoko Jr. So they add a little bit of depth on the defensive line. Practice squad, these guys, practice squad guys, all due respect to them, but they tend to get rotated out throughout the season. And I guess this guy's time. So that is the news. Austin Seibert, fresh off of the very frustrating misses over the weekend, where he did not look like himself, missed the first 2 extra points he's missed all year, is headed to IR, and the Commanders will likely have Zane Gonzalez kicking on Sunday against Tennessee. Coming up on the show today, it is a weird day for us because it's our last day of the week, and it's only Tuesday between the holiday, and we got Maryland hoops on our station tomorrow. So, Anthony, we're going to try to fit basically 4 shows worth of content into one show that ends 15 minutes early.
I think we're the guys for the job, Craig.
I agree. And to start, let's get right into it. We typically start Tuesday with some reflections from the film, and then we get to your calls at 301-230-0980 because that's how Vibe Check Tuesday works. It is your vibe, not necessarily mine. I will say my vibe, though, is pretty frustrated, Anthony. That is some really frustrating film to watch. And on the highest of levels, it is a reminder of what the standard is in the NFL. And that is offensively, there is one standard, and defensively, there is another. Because if you were to green dot, red dot the film, play by play by play, green dots for good plays, red dots for bad plays, there isn't that much difference in the offensive and the defensive number of green and red dots, which I know sounds crazy because the defense held a shutout till almost halftime and held the Cowboys to 10 points into the fourth quarter, and then the offense only scored 9 into the fourth quarter. And even through that portion of the game, first 3 quarters, take the zany fourth out of it. Green dots, red dots, not that dissimilar. The problem is you need so many more green dots on offense than you do on defense. And so what would happen is the Commanders would start to put together a drive, and then Tyler Biadasz quick snaps. He accidentally snaps on 1 when it's supposed to be snapped on 2. Now you're in 2nd and long. You have an incompletion on second and long, and now you're in third and long, or you have a short pass, whatever it was, and now Dallas is bringing a blitz, and Jayden's under pressure, and he's flushing out, and he can't find anybody downfield, and poopsie daisy. You have another drive where you have a holding penalty. Actually, they overcame one of their holding penalties in the game. That was a Senate hold. But, like, you have a bad run. Okay, we got one red dot. Now we got an incompletion. That's another red dot. And now you're in third and long, and now all of a sudden we're in this 3-and-out zone that they get to in the third quarter. But on defense, like, you'd think, oh, my God, they were dominant. They didn't give up anything. Well, you have the missed field goal. Things are accentuated by, or I should say, you have a missed field goal and a blocked field goal. They also blocked a punt, which is cool, but doesn't really affect the defense at all outside of field position. But, like, they would make a play, give up a play. Make a play, give up a play. And I think that is what makes this film so frustrating is it's just in the biggest moments. Like, offensively, they could not make the plays. Jayden was 0 of 7 on third down in this game, 0 of 6 against man coverage, which is wild. And then part of it was the way the Cowboys played. Because, Anthony, we actually talked at the tail end of the show yesterday about the Commanders' pass rush and how ineffective it was and how Dan Quinn was super not thrilled with it after the game. And so I brought that thought to the podcast. And Logan, like, brushed me off. And I was like, dude, they had 4 pressures. And he's like, well, let's look at it. Anthony, the Cowboys threw like 6 passes past 10 yards in the entire game. 2 of those 6 were play action. So if the Commanders got 4 pressures and they were to come on those 4 snaps that were not quick game and not play action, their pressure rate and true drop back would have been 100%.
Yeah.
So that tends to change your impression of things just a little bit. Mm-hmm. So the Cowboys just played this extremely conservative game plan where they either ran the ball and they were way more effective. That's the thing that I think is frustrating on the defensive side is they gave up major rush yardage, but at the same time, they play with lighter boxes. They know they're bend but don't break on some level, although they would, of course, love to stuff the run. Like, they do give up some of what they give up by design, and then realistically, they did a good job of keeping everything else in front of them outside of, like, 1 or 2 plays. The St. Juice Chin combo screw up down the right sideline right before the half, which cost them 3 points. BSJ is playing underneath it. Chin is over the top of it, and somehow the ball gets in between the two of them. Either one of them, please make a play. Be our guest. They don't. Chin, by the way, not as good in this game as I thought he was initially. That's why you watch the tape. Plays hard, plays fast, plays physical, some coverage issues, and some run fit issues. But that play, and then they have this one crosser to CeeDee Lamb that's just an outrageous play by CeeDee Lamb as he's running all the way across the field, cut in front of a defender and snatch the ball out of midair. But Lamb had 10 catches, or 12 like total attempts in the game. He ran 9 hitches, that one crosser, and then he had a shovel pass on the reverse where Dorrance Armstrong harangued him. And then he had one of the ones where he was lined up in the backfield on, like, the second play of the game. It was a pitch, but they made sure to pitch it forward so it counted as a pass attempt, which is very silly. That's actually not silly. It's actually smart because if, God forbid, the guy drops it, it's an incomplete pass instead of a fumble. But anyway, it's not a rushing attempt. It's a pass. Those are the 12 targets that CeeDee Lamb had. And that's why he had 10 catches for 67 yards. He literally had 9 hitches in the game. And they tackled him well on all of them. And so I think that, like, the way the Cowboys played was frustrating and good enough only because they were never forced out of it. Offensively, if Washington had just sustained some drives, they can't play that way. They never did. They just continue to play that way. Not a whole lot you can do. And that kind of is how that game goes. So what do you think about it on the phones? 301-230-0980, 301-0980. It is a Vibe Check Tuesday, and we are seeing where you're at next on the Team 980. Live from Capital One Arena, it's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. You want to see a sneak peek at what it looks like on the court, just go to Instagram at Hoffman W. Or sorry, not at Hoffman W Sports. That's a different thing. We did do an NWSL recap show today. There, that's on YouTube. Hoffman.sports. Hoffman.sports is the Instagram page, so you can check out my story and see where we're at here outside section 106, 107, and the bright red NBA Emirates Cup court that is on the inside. So, Anthony, you just heard kind of my vibe as we wait for some calls here at 301-230-0980. By the way, coming up at 4:45, our tier rankings. We're going to put those there in the show today. Can the Commanders stay in prime contenders? Hint, probably not. As we reconfigure where we are going into Week 13. But you just heard my frustration, kind of where this defense is, where the offense is after watching the tape. So what's your vibe this week?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback or pick up from where you were just talking about the defense and basically like the Cowboys' game plan. I think you can afford to be that conservative when your defense is, limiting our offense to field goals, forcing 3-and-outs. So I think the gameplay sort of fell in the Cowboys' hands just because we already know they didn't have that explosive of an offense. The run game wasn't all that good. Like, Dallas stinks. And they were injury ravaged on the offensive side of the ball. So they were already at a disadvantage there. So that's the only thing I wanted to add there. And on Friday, I know I had talked about, the first 15 minutes of the game being very, very important for the Commanders. And we keep getting out to these slow starts, man.
Yeah, it's a weird bit because they were so good earlier in the season. And I know that it's something that they're, when they get these full-speed practice reps, like you run through the script, and those first 15 really should be some of your best offense of the day. And instead, they are struggling early. They can't get a rhythm. And I think a huge part of it is the offensive efficiency and in the run game is just not there. Like, they're getting 3 yards way too often, and you're in 2nd and 7, and then you're an incompletion away from being in 3rd and 7. And the thing is, like, it'd be one thing if they were just getting their butts kicked up front and it was the same guy. And we've had that at times throughout the years with this franchise where it's like, yeah, the left guard just isn't very good and there's only so much you can do about it. But now it's like, oh, in this play it's Allegretti. There's one key play where they would have had a bomb and Cosme gets beat. And you're like, pretty good game from Sam Cosme. He's arguably their best offensive player. He lost that rep. You want to know why? Because Micah Parsons was in front of him. And Micah Parsons beat Sam Cosme. And sometimes Micah Parsons is going to beat Sam Cosme. And if he does it 3 times in a game, that's a terrible day for Sam Cosme and a great day for Micah Parsons. And that doesn't seem fair. But, that's the bar of good offense in the NFL. It does take 11, especially in the run game, but in the pass game as well. And it's kind of funny watching the comments roll in on some of the YouTube stuff, Anthony, and obviously we'll take some calls here in person in a second at 301-230-0980. But I've literally gotten they need to throw more bubble screens. They need to throw less. A lot of they need to throw deep, even though, I actually think they were looking deep a little too much in this game. Because, for instance, the deep shot they take to Terry down the left sideline on, I think it's the 3rd drive of the game. I'm kicking myself because I forgot my my film notes at home in the Take Command studio. But, okay, it barely misses. It's a good shot. It's a good throw. It misses by that much. Well, now you're in 2nd and 10. And I think they give up a pressure, and now you're in 3rd and long, and, Jayden has to, dump the ball off quickly, and now you're in 3rd and 7. And you try to run a hitch, and it goes begging or whatever it was on that particular one, and now you're 3 and out. And if you had just gotten 3 yards on 1st down and now you're in 2nd and 7, well, you get 3 yards again, now you're in 3rd and 4, and that's a lot more manageable. And so, this is the conundrum of being a play caller in the NFL. It's really hard because there are no obvious answers. The correct answer is the one that's going to work. The problem is you don't know it's going to work until after you try it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be professional football.
No, I definitely would agree with that. I think something also on the offensive side of the ball that we've sort of kind of gone away from are the 2 running back sets. I think I know there was a play in the game where Sinnott was in the backfield with It's when Jayden scored actually. I think it was a read option. I'm not sure, but I know
That
he can.
that play, I think Bates was in the backfield and Sinnott got out on the edge. Either way, Sinnott wound up on the edge and just absolutely drove
Pancake
Deron.
somebody,
It was
man.
Deron Bland through the
Yeah.
turf.
Yeah. I mean, I just think we need I would love to see the offense go back to like some of that stuff because it was effective early in the season, the 2 running back sets. Granted, B Rob and Eckler, they haven't been in the lineup together, so it's been a little tough.
It's
to
been
do
hard.
it.
They've tried to do it with Eckler and McNichols. It hasn't been as effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think Robinson and Eckler. I mean, can we get either one of them on the field this weekend? That'd be cool.
Love to.
But like getting them on the field together. But because they've been banged up, you probably want to limit their reps a little bit. Like you don't want to have them out there, 40, 50 reps each. And each time they're out there together, that's a double rep.
Yeah.
Even if one of them's not getting the ball, like the other one's executing a fake, like you're still doing stuff. So it's a challenge. Like this is the conundrum. And like, people I saw some folks talking about the heavy boxes that Dallas was playing. Dallas was stacking the box. Dallas was stacking the box because the Commanders went to 13 personnel a ton, a.k.a. 3 tight ends, a ton in this game. And it was successful for some of it. So I think the magic of Cliff earlier in the year was that he was always able to find the thing that worked, and he hasn't quite been able to do that in the last couple of weeks. And what I would tell people is not that just is okay, accept it, but it's not for lack of trying. Like someone earlier was like, where's his creativity? It's still there. Like the play design on the Bates fumble is a sick play design. They had been running quite a bit on first down. And, they had Eckler in the backfield. They fake a toss to the right. The whole defense goes that way. They even pull I think they pulled Cosme from the right guard to go out and like he was going to lead, which is it's called a pop pass protection. And they just throw right behind it in that window, and Bates is wide open. It should be a 15, 18-yard gain. And then he fumbles. So you have one of your coolest, most effective plays of the game schematically that ends in a fumble. Well-designed, well called, poopsy execution, and that's why they're complaining about the execution postgame. So, again, are there things that I think Cliff could maybe do differently? Sure. I've got a couple of ideas. We're going to explore the left side Terry deal at 5:30 in our Jayden Daniels Take Command Tape Tuesday. Logan and I talked through that this morning. We'll play it for you at 5:30. But I do think it's something that is maybe a little more complicated than a lot of folks want to give credit for. Let's get one call in before the break, and then we'll take more calls after at 301-230-0980. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Bruce. Bruce, you're on the Hoffman Show.
Okay, the Hoffman Show. So Cliff Kingsbury, is his offense falling off the table? Quite the conundrum. A lot of talk about it. Yeah, give me your take.
I mean, Bruce, that's kind of what we were just talking about. Thanks for the call.
All right.
Anthony, you should clap with your mic on.
Oh my! He got on the call with me. Well, he got on the phone with me, and he had a lot of energy about Cliff's offense. Like he gave me a nice little spiel.
What did Bruce have to say? I
Only-
wish Bruce had said it as opposed to just asking me to say the thing I just said after he said it or after he asked for it.
I mean, essentially, some of the stuff you were talking about, Cliff sort of kind of the creativity gone out the window. The everybody's figured him out. He's a little bit predictable. That's what sort of kind of like he was getting at. But then he went to ask you a question.
Yeah. Look,
I don't know.
We'll continue to talk about it. I'm not trying to be mean or rude to Bruce. It was just kind of like, while you were on hold, the station comes through the phone. So I thought perhaps I don't think Cliff is calling perfect games. I also think that a lot of the problems, like on the list of problems, I think Cliff Kingsbury's play calling is not remotely close to the top. Now, there is one part of the Terry Jayden thing that I think is probably worth exploring that is a big system-wide deal, right? Which is if Jayden Daniels prefers to throw to his right or is more comfortable throwing to his right, and a lot of the offense is designed to go right, and Terry is lined up on the left, that's not a good use of personnel, especially when, when Cliff was in Arizona, there were some years he had DeAndre Hopkins, but he also had like some other dudes. And so isolating D-Hop as a safety net at all times and then letting those other dudes run around in the 3 wide receiver side, like, okay. Now, like, Noah Brown's a okay football player. De'Ami Brown's okay football player. Olamide Zaccheaus, who has seemingly disappeared in this offense, okay football player. Luke McCaffrey, okay football player. The guy that you should be trying to get the ball to is Terry McLaurin. And so if you are lined up on the right, or your offense is designed to often go right, and the spray chart, your quarterback is throwing to the right 70+% of the time, which is actually the number, and your wide receiver 1, who is the best player on your team, is lined up consistently to the left, yes, he is having the best season of his career, but do not let good be the enemy of better. Just like you don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good, don't let good be the enemy of better. And that is a system-level thing. I also think that there's some opportunities potentially for Cliff to throw the ball more on early downs. Jayden is not as good against man as he is against zone. And so early on in games where you're getting, or early downs where you're getting some of the base, like, cover 2, cover 3 stuff, and it's pretty easy to read out. Could they potentially throw the ball more there? Yeah, I'm open to that idea. But I do think just like, hey, can this guy who's blocked pretty well all year hit this block and hold it for a half second longer? That is the bigger issue from in the trenches to the receivers and tight ends blocking to, like, can we catch some of these curls and hitches that Jayden is throwing and throwing well? Maybe coaching up a little bit more to the middle of the field, getting guys like Ertz back more involved in the offense. But generally speaking, it's the ability to execute and pass pro and do all these things that are a part of every play rather than the plays themselves and the order and sequence with which they are called and how they are structured being a problem. 301-230-0980. Bruce, I hope I answered your question. And we'll take more of your calls on a Vibe Check Tuesday next.
After a 7-2 start, the Commanders are in free fall.
Hey,
230-0980 is the phone number. Again, that is the Team 980 listener line at 301-230-0980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And we are live at Capital One Arena today, where the Wizards and Bulls will play tonight. You can come say hi. Just please do it in a commercial break. Don't. I'm very ADD. If you talk to me during the show, bad things happen. But you can come say what's up. We're outside section 106, 107 if you're coming to the NBA Cup action tonight. We are taking your calls now, though, on a Vibe Check Tuesday. Your thoughts, feelings, your vibe on the Commanders after this bizarro loss to the Cowboys. A lot of talk about the offense, but if you want to get in on the defense, you got about 10 minutes to do so on that as well. Let's go to Miles in Upper Marlboro. Miles, get us going on this Vibe Check Tuesday.
Hey, Craig, what's going on?
What's up, buddy?
I just wanted to say, my vibe on the Commanders is still good. Again, it's year one, and I get the defense for Cliff, but I feel like he does need to take like some accountability, some blame for personnel. Like when we were talking about that John Bates pass and fumble, I mean our second round pick and Ben Simmons can't do the same thing, or like I feel like even after Noah Brown, what did he drop like 4 passes? It felt like that game. We can't get Luke in there some more. Like I feel like the personnel on offense has been a bit questionable especially since for our high pick tight end who's had I don't even know if he's had more than 5 catches on the season, and we're in week 12. So I think Cliff needs to take partial blame, I think, on the personnel.
So
and just how.
Or go ahead, finish up, Miles.
No, and just how just flat this offense has become. Like I feel like there has to be an adjustment, a switch up, and I mean, we just haven't seen it.
Yeah,
we just haven't seen it. I mean,
I hear you, Miles, and I think they're good points. My reporter background makes me go, there's probably a reason why. These are smart guys. And like, for instance, on the Bates play, the deception is part of it. No one expects it because it's John Bates. Now, that's a double-sided coin. Like, okay, well, that means you're going to have to throw the ball to John Bates. You'd rather it be Zach Ertz, or I agree that from a juice after the catch standpoint, I'd rather that be Ben Sinnott. But at the end of the day, like, Bates is a professional tight end. He caught the ball. He ran the route well. He can't fumble. And so, like, that's a play that worked and personnel that worked, and then all of a sudden it didn't. Noah Brown is their best outside guy, not named Terry McLaurin. I would like to see Luke McCaffrey get some more looks in that spot, but he, I think, is thought of as more of like a power slot receiver than he is someone who's going to be an outside guy. But he has shown an ability to do that, and he is one that I have some questions about. But, like, what is happening in practice that Luke, a guy that we know his work ethic, we know all that, is not earning the trust of the coaches? That's a good question. But just to assume that it's wrong the way they're doing it, that this isn't the best option, and this team is just not talented in the ways that it hopefully will be next year, nevertheless 2 years from now, I think sometimes is underselling what these guys are doing. I hope they're not being stubborn. I hope that, maybe they are willing to look at some of this stuff and maybe some of this stuff does change. I also think that, hey, the Pittsburgh game, the offense wasn't really that bad. And frankly, the Chicago game, they were in the red zone a bunch and they didn't finish. They kicked a bunch of field goals. Pittsburgh game, they actually put 27 on one of the best defenses in the league. Philly game, that was a problem. Dallas game, that's a problem. So in that way, it has only been 2 weeks of really bad performances. And so I think that probably, even though it feels worse because of the losing streak and because of the frustration against Chicago from a finish standpoint, it feels in some way worse than it is. And you also don't want to overreact, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, last thing, too, just speaking on the tight ends, I feel like he is a little bit too reliable on Zach Ertz. I get him and JD have built a rapport, but how much longer is Zach Ertz here if beyond the season? I just feel like just more players need to be incorporated more. This just in week 12. That's all. Like I get.
Yeah, I hear you, Miles. You can only. Here's the thing, Miles. And thanks for the call. Like you can only play one game, one season at a time. So I'd hope that there is certainly in the maybe next year, and hopefully it's Ben Sinnott. You did draft him in the second round. That turns into Ben Sinnott. That would be sweet. That upgrade at tight end for sure. But Zach also is very reliable in getting open, and for an offense that's struggling to be efficient and just get positive yardage in some very important parts of the game, specifically early, I would actually go more Zach Ertz. I want him to get 8 targets a game because I just want Jayden to get in that rhythm of being comfortable throwing the ball over the middle of the field to someone who's reliable. And long term, is that the plan? No, nothing is long term for Zach Ertz at this point in his career. That's just a reality of how long he's been around and kind of where his skill set is. But it can help you right now, and it will help the quarterback's development, and it will help the offense get more plays because he's a guy that can convert some first downs for you. And so they've got to make sure that they're using the middle of the field effectively. I think OZ's got to get a little bit more involved in the middle of the field, some of these slants and stuff out of the slot. So I think there's a lot of different things. I mean, get Terry in the slot more. I don't care if it's the left slot. I would like to see Terry, get some more opportunities from some different spots as well, attack the field a little bit differently. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Michael in New Jersey. Michael, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
How you doing, Craig?
I'm good, Michael. Thanks for checking in.
Always. So I appreciate you taking the time. I was curious if you felt like Jayden's progressions feel more like they're based off Cliff's offense or less natural, if that makes sense. Because I feel like early on he was reaching out for Terry earlier in his progression, and now he's trying to read it organically. It's causing more issues for us.
Interesting theory, and I don't. The honest answer is I have no idea because no one in that this isn't quite the leaky building it used to be. These guys are all pretty coy, and so one, I'm not there in that building like I used to be, and two, the guys that are and the girls that are, Nikki, John, all these people. If you listen to them, they'll be like, yeah. John literally said this on his podcast. I was listening to it driving in today. He was like, they don't talk as much as they used to, so it's harder to get some of this information out, which is ultimately probably a good thing for the team. But you have, Michael, touched on something that I wonder about, and I think a lot of people are jumping to the conclusion that it's a Cliff problem. And I don't know whether it's a Cliff or a Jayden problem, which is how are these plays designed to be read out? And are these decisions, for instance, if you have mirrored concepts, you're 2x2, so you have 2 receivers on one side, 2 receivers on the other, you're getting mirrored coverage, so it's, cover 2, cover 4, cover 1, something where it's not cover 6, where it's quarters on one side and cover 2 on the other. And so basically you have the same exact choice on either side of the play. Are you designing that so it's is Jayden picking Terry's side, or more specifically not Terry's side? And if so, why? Is it matchup based, something that was coached up during the week? Is it Jayden's natural preference to throw to the right? What is it? And that is solving that core conundrum of, is this something that is designed, or are these choices the quarterback is making, is kind of the key to unlocking what the answer is. But I would be lying to you if I had any idea which one it was.
I love that, man. I just appreciate it. I think that's what our next step in evolving as an offense is figuring that part out.
No, I 100% agree, and I hope it's something that it's become a big talking point, and I know the people over there pay attention. So if there's something where they're like, why the hell haven't we thought of this? I hope that they quietly think about it this week. I also wonder if it gets asked in a press conference to Dan Quinn tomorrow or Cliff on Thursday. They're doing a Zoom deal. They're not doing it in person on Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, but Cliff will be available. Jayden's obviously going to talk tomorrow as well. And then they have a week off on the bye so they can self-scout. So I'm hoping this is something that comes up and they look at, because ultimately, no matter what the reason is, getting the ball to Terry more and having him be more featured in a more primary look is something that's just good offense. And so hopefully it's something they figure out. Michael, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it, and have a happy Thanksgiving. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, we will go into our NFL tier rankings. The Commanders, I don't think, are going to be at that top floor anymore. It's a Tischler Tuesday, so Mitch will join us coming up at 5 p.m. It's the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980. Craig Hoffman here being Capital One Arena. Anthony Haney back in our D.C. control room. And it is time, Anthony. It's not the usual time. Typically, we do this at 6 o'clock on Tuesdays. But as we're trying to jam our entire week of shows into basically today, as we're off tomorrow, off Thursday and Friday for the holiday. Tomorrow, you'll be hearing Maryland Hoops here on the Team 980 at this time. We're going to do our NFL tier rankings now. So it is week 13. We obviously did not do these last week because I was out. But it is time to update the tiers, Anthony. Are you ready to perhaps shed some tears as we take a look at where the Commanders wind up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How far down? When was the last time we did these? Trying to find our rankings here. Get these back up in the rundown to where I can see them. And as a reminder, there are 4 tiers. We actually added a 5th tier last time, specifically for the New York Jets. The top tier is the prime contenders. Then there is the puncher's chance. There's interesting but not quite good enough. There's no chance in hell. And then we have actual hell, which is where the Jets live. So, Anthony, let's get to it. The Kansas City Chiefs, they just keep winning, so they get to stay.
Yes.
All right. The Baltimore Ravens. They had a heck of a performance last night. They get to stay.
Yes, sir.
All right. No real consternation yet. Let's close out this tab so I don't have so many tabs open. The Detroit Lions. They keep winning.
Yep.
The Buffalo Bills. They had a bye, right?
Yep.
And they won 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So no reason to move them. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Do we still believe in the Steelers after they lost to the Browns on a Thursday night? They did beat the Ravens since the last time we talked as well, though. I kind of think they should stay for now. I do think as some teams fall out of puncher's chance potentially, and we start to really, really in this final month see the cream of the crop, the Steelers are a prime candidate to drop again. But I think for now they probably belong in this neighborhood.
Yep.
Okay, the Philadelphia Eagles probably belong to be mentioned earlier than they are right now. They have been awesome.
Who do you think is the best team in the NFL, Craig?
The Detroit Lions. I do think that the Eagles are close.
They're closing in on them, baby.
I know the Ravens' record isn't as good, but I still think the Ravens are close.
So you will go Lions, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs?
I think so, yeah.
A 10-1 Chiefs team is number 4. Okay.
Dude, the Chiefs' defense has actually been a little leakier as of late. The
Yeah, they
offense is
have.
starting to make up for it. Like, they got D-Hop. The offense got a little better. The defense is starting to lose some pieces, though. And they're missing L'Jarius Sneed because the other corners they got to replace him that were good are hurt. And their pass rush outside of Chris Jones isn't very good. But they're still 10-1. So, and I think they can clinch a playoff spot this weekend.
That is insane.
I think them and Detroit both can clinch a playoff spot this weekend. And then the Washington Commanders were in prime contenders 2 weeks ago when we did this, Anthony.
They got to go.
Down they go.
We lost to the Dallas Cowboys. They got to go.
They are down. In some ways, I want to put them in actual hell as punishment. You have to go hang out with the Jets. That's not actually what we're going to do, though. I still think the Commanders are in puncher's chance. I think that they could, they still could be a pain in the butt to face in the playoffs. And they still are on track to make the playoffs. So I think that they belong in puncher's chance for right now. They are another loss away from obviously dropping out of that. But let's see what they do against Tennessee, and then they got the bye week. Agreed?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
2 puncher's chance. Anybody to go up, anybody to go down. Let's start off with the Minnesota Vikings. They have continually won. I still think this is where they belong because they have not they're not playing as cleanly as they were earlier in the year, and they're not as dominant defensively. Like Sam Darnold occasionally is Sam Darnolding bad. He's still Sam Darnolding enough good to overcome it. And they showed something this weekend, right? No, not a big JJ game, and they still produced.
Sam put up 330.
Yeah, I don't think they belong up higher. Like they're in this group of teams. They're not in the Ravens, Lions group of teams.
Yeah, I think they're cool. I think the defense, if they can get back to like where they were early in the season, I definitely think they'd be a prime contender. But the fact Sam Darnold carried them this weekend says a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. In their division, Packers, we had actually put a star by them, said if they lose, they're going down.
Yeah.
They didn't. They've won 2 straight since we put that star next to their name. So they're good. The Houston Texans, we had also starred, and then they curb stomped the Cowboys, but then they lost to the Titans. Anthony, do the Texans still have a puncher's chance?
I think we give them one more chance.
I think we do too, because partly that division is so bad, and they're just gonna cruise to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Somehow. So
maybe
Texans.
not. They gotta play. They gotta play Titans again. I think. You never know.
I'm pretty sure though. Texans, you get to stay for now. The Atlanta Falcons. You are in puncher's chance. You are a team that makes me want to punch myself in the head. Atlanta Falcons, I'm moving them down. I don't think they belong here. I don't think they're that dangerous right now.
Did they have a bye last week?
They did, but 2 weeks ago they lost an embarrassing game.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who it was against. I remember
the Seahawks.
Yeah, they got curb stomped by Denver. That's what it was. They lost like 38-6.
Oh yeah, it was
and
bad.
Denver, we might need to talk about going up.
Yes, we do.
But Atlanta needs to go down. The Rams, I still think when they're right and they're healthy, I know they lost pretty bad to Philly, but Philly's really good. I still think a healthy Rams offense, if they can get their offensive line back, I still think they're a little dangerous. The Chargers competed well with the Ravens last night. I still think this is where they belong, even though they lost. And then there's the Cardinals, who had earned their way up. And I'm putting them back down. They're just not good enough.
To be honest, I don't think we can have the Rams in puncher's chance. They're not even their division's leader.
This is why this is hard. Are we doing this off of what we think of the team, or are we doing this based off merit, based off their record?
I mean, the thing is, we've said this about the Rams offense the last 3 weeks. Oh, they got all these pieces. They lost to the Dolphins. They beat the who did they beat after the Dolphins? They beat the Patriots, and then they got blown out by the Eagles. I just don't think the Rams are good enough. Their defense isn't that good, at all.
They have a pass rush, though. That's the thing that I'm like,
they do.
Against the right. Like, they're such, to me, they're the definition of a puncher's chance. If Stafford has a good day and they protect, I mean, it really is like, if they protect Stafford and that pass rush can get going a little bit, they could beat anyone on any given Sunday. But, all right, you've convinced me. Right now, I'm going to put, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the Rams back down with the upward caret next to their name. Basically, if you can go out and show us something, Rams, we'll move you back up.
And what about the Seahawks, though?
Do we feel like the Seahawks need to come up?
I don't think they need to come up. I think they get a carrot, though.
Okay. That gets us into the interesting but not quite good enough tier. So Falcons, we just moved down. Bears, we had starred. If they lose, they need to drop. They've lost 2 straight, but I actually think that they stay because they've actually shown that they are interesting.
They're getting better.
They are
Caleb's
interesting.
Getting better.
They are not good enough, but they are still interesting. So good for you, Chicago. Seahawks, I think you're right. They've gotten themselves into on the verge territory. What do we do with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
They're just the same old Bucs. They're this year anyway.
Super
just because
interesting.
They're so banged up.
Not good enough, but they might wind up. I think they get a carrot. If
they're going to win their division for sure.
Well, that's the thing. If they win the division, they would be a pain in the butt because with Evans back, they're a better team. So I think they're on the verge. Niners. Are we just ready to? I don't think I'm ready to put them down in no chance.
Yeah, no chance, but they can be at the bottom of interesting, but not good enough.
They had a carrot a couple weeks ago as they were getting healthy. We're going to put an asterisk by them.
How long is Purdy out?
I don't know. I don't think they put him on IR yet, but we'll see. Broncos. That's the team that needs to be under consideration. Okay, so we're gonna move the Broncos up. Congratulations, you and your very good defense and your suddenly charging in the Rookie of the Year race, Bo Nix, are up. Colts, we had them starred. They've gone 1-1 since. I think they stay with the star.
Yeah.
Bengals.
They had a bye this week.
They had a bye.
And then they lost to they lost a good game, actually.
Yeah, I think they're right where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Dolphins are right where they're supposed to be. Interesting, but not good enough. And then we have the Cardinals and Rams. No chance. The Raiders, the Jags, the Patriots, the Panthers. Honestly, Anthony, I'm going to move the Panthers up. Not because I think they have any kind of chance, but they're worth watching to see if this Bryce Young thing is real.
I like Bryce. He looked good against the
That's the best
Chiefs.
game a quarterback has arguably had against Spags, or one of the 5 best all year, 3 best all year. It's probably the best game of his career against what's supposed to be a pretty darn good defense.
Yeah, he looked good.
So
Throwing
Carol,
with anticipation, like everything.
It was like 11 of 14 for like 160 yards against the blitz.
Yep.
By the way, Jayden was 1 of 9 for 4 yards against the blitz. Not good. So Carolina, you go up. The Giants. The
Do
Saints.
the Titans go up if they win next week? Oh, no, they play the Commanders. No, sorry.
I mean,
that would be interesting. If Will Levis goes out there and plays well, it's the same. It's the same with Bryce Young.
What's their record?
They're 3-7, I think.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Bryce was a 1-1 overall. I'm way more interested in that than Will Levis.
Yeah, you're right.
So Raiders, Jags, Patriots, Titans, Giants, Saints.
Do the Cowboys move up?
No, they still stink. They played bad and won. The Browns, on principle, they stay, even though they beat the Steelers, because the week before they lost to the Saints. And funny enough, Anthony, even coming off a bye week, the Jets are still in actual hell.
Yeah, they are.
Congratulations, Jets. You are still on your own in the bottom of Poopsville. That is our NFL tier rankings. We'll do them again next Tuesday after Week 13. When we get back, Mitch Tischler joins us to talk about the Cowboys-Commanders circus football game from Sunday. Team 980. Aggressive on the air horns, Anthony. A double air horn day? Anything specific?
I had to sound the alarm just because the Commanders haven't really looked the best.
Oh, okay. Well, it is time for Not My Beat here on a Tuesday, and the air horns means one thing.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
Yes, the air horns means Mitch Tischler is with us. Mitchell, have you made any sense of what the hell we experienced, 10 feet apart in the press box at Northwest Stadium on Sunday?
Nope, it's just as baffling Tuesday at 5 p.m. as it was Sunday at 4:30 p.m. The last, 4 minutes of that game were incredible, and if you're a football fan, was clearly a ton of fun to watch. 41 points in the fourth quarter, but those first three quarters, and honestly, overall, when you look at this game, entirely unacceptable from this Commanders team to show up that way and for the offense to not be able to put some points on.
Yeah, if we look at the way this offensive line is playing right now, how big of an issue is that, do you think, to their struggles, and what would be the solution to get it to play better?
I think the offensive line is one of the issues. For the most part, I think a lot of it is injury related, but I also think it's play call related as well. I mean, they haven't been able to get the run game going. A lot of the quick game stuff that was working really well early in the day, early in the season, wasn't particularly working. They haven't been calling it much. And I think a lot of the things that Cliff Kingsbury was doing to kind of help protect an offensive line that, graded out on PFT and all those other things far above what their actual, skill level / group rankings should be. I think his play calling helped them out a whole lot early in the season. And as the season's progressed, we're seeing a lot more 5-7 step drops, longer developing plays. And quite frankly, it's starting to look a little bit like Eric Bieniemy's offense looked last year, where, you try and run the ball on first and second down from time to time. Bieniemy didn't run the ball that much, and then it comes to third and long or third and medium, and you're going through and having to block longer, having to protect longer, having to deal with blitzes more often because you're not giving that front seven group a whole lot of stuff to look at. They know they can keep their eye on Jayden and get after the quarterback that way. So I think I think there's a lot of different reasons that this offense hasn't been executing the way that it can, but I think a lot of it comes down to the lack of running game and the lack of quick game.
So, first of all, I will not let any comparisons of this offense to the Eric Bieniemy offense stand on this show. They're absolutely not. Like, yes, there are more 5 and 7 step drops, and
that's the only point I was making.
I'm just making sure that we are clarifying that, because last year was malpractice. This is something else. I guess the thing that I struggle with on that front, though, Mitch, is it's not like they're calling a ton of different stuff in the run game. Yes, I do think there's opportunities to potentially pass a little bit more on early downs and do some of the quick game stuff, and that stuff is there. It's just not being executed as well as it was earlier this season. And the biggest difference to me is the running game, but it's not like they're not trying different things. Like, they're running Wanda, the weak side zone, away from the tight end. They're running the pin pull toss stuff. They're running the funky delay thing that somehow Austin always slides out of, where it looks like he's about to get tackled 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And they're running their GT guard tackle pull plays that have been their bread and butter all year. And they're not hitting. Like, I at that point, I just don't know how much of that is on the play caller versus the players. And if that stuff's not working, it's not like there's other runs they can go to. Like, those are the runs that exist in the NFL.
Correct. And I agree with you that the run game in and of itself doesn't look much different. But the fact that we're not getting nearly as much quick game, you're not getting receivers with your playmakers, the ball in their hands early in the game, means that you're allowing teams to concentrate on what's happening in between the tackles. And that's, to me, what the problem is. And, the offense isn't just the run game or just the pass game. Obviously, it's complementary. But the less eye candy that you're giving these defenses, the less that you're getting the ball to the outside in positions where players can make plays, the less defenses have to respect, what's happening out there. And clearly, outside of Terry McLaurin, who easy to just double him and try and take him away. None of the other receivers, tight ends or receivers, are really winning one-on-one battles on the outside. And as a whole for the offense, and part of it is the run game was much better early in the season, they were at 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3. They had shorter down and distances. They had down and distances where they could either run or throw the ball. And now you're getting into a situation where these first down runs, these consistent first and second down runs, are leaving you 3rd and longs. And I think you can look at the 3rd down conversion stats and directly point to that as a big issue for why this offense isn't moving. So I think there's no simple explanation for it all, is I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I guess the only thing that it's not even disagree, it's just like maybe my slice here on Thanksgiving week, my slice of blame pie is a little different in one part of my pie versus yours is like the part of the reason they're not getting to some of these plays and some of these quick game things and things like that is because they're not getting the 11 play drives they got consistently earlier in the season. And so there's just not the play volume to get to as many things. You can't get to the 3rd play in the sequence if the sequence dies on 3rd and 7 without getting a first down. And when you run the ball on first down, you're in 2nd and 7. Well, now you try to go quick game and you got to drop or the ball gets batted. Like now it's 3rd and 7, and they actually did the things that we wanted. We wanted them to run the ball. We wanted them to go quick game, but you have execution mistakes on both of them, and you're in a bad spot. So I don't think we're disagreeing at all, to be clear to the audience, and I think we understand this talking to each other as we talk ball enough to do this. But like to the audience, we don't disagree on where the problem is. I think if there's any disagreement, it's like, how are we getting there? Because I will tell you, even watching this game back, Cliff, I think, is really, really consistent of doing wild stuff on second downs. And, in this game, there's the reverse to Diami, which is a beautiful design. There is some other stuff that they do that's really creative and smart and works, but then you commit a penalty that you didn't commit earlier in the year. Or Tyler Biadasz snaps the ball on 1 instead of on 2, and, that kills a drive. And so where earlier in the year they just played this tremendously clean football and were able to get 10-play drives on the regular and get to all this stuff. I just don't think the opportunities are there because they're not executing as well in the base of their offense, this running game, especially that was just magnificent to start the season.
I agree with you, and I think what you said was correct about us, talking about this. But the one thing I would point out is, you look at this Cowboys offense, right? It's not a particularly explosive offense. There's not a lot of great players out there. And yet they're still able to force the ball to CeeDee Lamb for him to get 10 catches, his 13 or 14 targets, whatever the number was. And Terry McLaurin is sitting there with 4 catches for, 15, 16 yards before the 86-yarder at the end of the game. To me, that's hearkening back to the same issues that we've seen with this Commanders offense with multiple offensive coordinators, where for whatever reason they're not getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. And quite frankly, with some of this run game issues that are happening, I'd rather have a quick tunnel screen to Terry or even a pop pass or a reverse to Diami or whoever it may be instead of some of these runs, because quite frankly, Terry gets the ball in his hands and there's a chance that he's going to take it for 25 yards every time he touches it. He's the best player on your offense, not named Jayden Daniels. He needs the ball in his hands earlier in games more often. You need teams to respect the fact that your playmakers are going to be handling the football. Even CeeDee Lamb got that carry early on in the game. It was just lined up in the backfield and handed it off to him. To me, I'm not down on Cliff and this offense and all this. I think a lot of it is execution, and quite frankly, I think a lot of it is also injury related and the late bye week related as well. But at the same time, you can look at it and see 4 drives starting from the Commanders' 39-yard line or better in the first half, and seeing them come away with 3 points is really disappointing. And part of it is, them settling for the field goal on the 4th and 2 early on in that game. Part of it is some of Jayden Daniels' decision-making as well. There's a lot of different factors to all of this. It's something that you hope they can clean up, and in the moment, I think it's okay to be critical of what we're seeing on the football field. But I think also you can't lose sight of where this team is and where this offense is compared to what we expected. Through 5 weeks of the season, we were saying Jayden may be an MVP. It's not like he's all of a sudden lost it and is a terrible football player and everyone's caught up to everybody and all the different narratives that, folks are kind of starting to throw out there. So there's some nuance to everything that's happening.
100%. And Mitch Tischler, co-host of the Beltway Football Podcast, with us here on the Hoffman Show. The Terry point is the one that I'm 100% in agreement on. And, you and I have been talking about this for years, and again, under multiple OCs, where it's just like, hey, he's the best you got. Not that he's Justin Jefferson, you need to get him 18 targets a game, but like 8 would be nice, 10 would be nice. And some of it is the play volume, right? The percentages look probably more similar than people would imagine because they're just not running as many plays. They ran, I think, 67 in this game by the end of it, but a ton of those come in that final 5 of the fourth quarter, where they finally string together that long drive. But it still should be higher. And when they're making these choices, and whether it's Jayden making the choice or Cliff making the choice, I don't know, to throw some of this quick stuff to Noah Brown, for instance, as opposed to Terry, that some of these design touches are going to Diami instead of Terry. Like, these are things that to me seem fairly easily fixable and fairly logical on just, hey, let's not lose the forest through the trees here. And that's the thing that I just wonder what the reasoning is, and it feels like it's easily fixable. And that, to me, is like the biggest point of criticism. And to your point, especially if the run game is just not going to be effective because the O-line is banged up, and now B-Rob and Eckler are banged up, and all these things, like, okay, well, let's get the smokes and the slants and the hitches to Terry, because, like, CeeDee Lamb actually didn't have a great game. He had 10 catches for 67 yards. They were 9 hitches. The run that he ran in that game, which is crazy. That's just not a way to go nowhere fast. But you get a couple of those, and then you can take the top off the defense. Then things open up elsewhere, and the threat of him is there in a way that it just doesn't feel like this Commanders offense has a threat of really anything right now outside of, like, Terry getting the random one that he busts loose because he's Terry and he makes magic happen.
Right, and through the first 3 quarters, I thought the defense did a pretty good job, of keeping this Cowboys offense in check. Obviously, they're helped by a block and a missed field goal and, all of that. But CeeDee Lamb had, you said, 67 yards, so he averaged 6.7 yards a catch.
Right.
I would kill for a 7-yard first down play, just a quick hitch to Terry there. Get yourself to a 2nd and 3 early on in the game where you can be, confusing for a defense and not allow them to pin their ears back and do all those different things. Listen, I thought Jayden looked healthy for the first time on Sunday. I also think for the first time I saw some pretty poor decisions made by him. I think about the interception that he threw to B-Rob. I mean, granted, he's under pressure, but B-Rob had 2 Cowboys right there. Best case scenario, B-Rob catches it and gets dropped for a loss of 4 yards. Throw that ball in the ground, dirt it, live to fight another day. With whatever was 50 seconds left in the first half, they're just over midfield. They have a 3rd and 9. They don't convert it, but what's worse about not converting it is Jayden runs out of bounds, stops the clock, allows the Cowboys to save a timeout. We saw what happened. They drive down the field with 50 seconds and kick a field goal to go into halftime tied, and all of a sudden they feel like they have a little bit of life. And we've seen teams come into FedEx Field, Northwest Stadium over the years and put their foot on the Commanders, Washington Football Redskins team throat and remind them, hey, you're not as good as we are, and we're gonna show you that. And this team had an opportunity to do that to Dallas early. Dallas really tried to give this thing away. I mean, the field position situation to come away with only 3 points in that first half is really awful. And it's a killer instinct that isn't, that maybe needs to be learned a little bit from a team that doesn't have a ton of success, over the years, that certain players haven't seen a ton of success from, but it's something that's got to get better as we move forward.
Yeah, and let me ask you one final question on the way out here, Mitch. One of my, I don't have a lot of criticisms of DQ this year. I think he's done, by and large, a tremendous job, and I like the way he goes about his business in a bunch of ways. But there's kind of one thing that is, and irks is probably too strong, too emotionally evocative, but one thing that just doesn't add up for me is his decision-making on 4th downs, where you want to be this bold team. You talk about being bold. You talk about being aggressive. You talk about being in people's faces. And then on 4th down, you pretty consistently punt or kick field goals in situations where more aggressive coaches, and I'm not even talking about just Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell ought to eat kneecaps and he's going for 4th down all the time. But, I mean, John Harbaugh last night on his own 16-yard line you got all kinds of coaches around the league making these aggressive fourth down decisions, especially when you've got a super weapon in Jayden in those situations. It just doesn't add up for me. Is that something that makes sense? Like, does Dan's decision-making make sense to you, or are you kind of where I am on that in terms of the approach here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the business of making excuses for Dan Quinn because I do like the aggressiveness that we've seen out of him. I wonder if B-Rob had just gotten hurt, was out of the game, wasn't available for who is obviously your short down back. Eckler and McNichols are really nice pieces, but they're not power running through the middle of between the tackles. So I wonder if maybe he was concerned that it just looked clearly like teams would be able to load up on Jayden Daniels on that fourth down, and that's why he ultimately decided to kick that field goal. But, we were joking, not you and I, JP and I on Beltway Football Podcast were joking early in the season about no fade in Jayden. When you have the best, most athletic player on the football field at any given time, you want the ball in his hands. Now, obviously, Michael Parsons is on the other side, so maybe there's a question particularly to this game. But I would like to see a little more consistency in those, end of half and fourth down conversion situations. Ultimately, it wasn't that one play that was the difference in the game. To me, when you went into halftime, tied 3-3, you allowed a hurt Cowboys team to have some confidence, and they came out and were able to steal a game from you.
Yeah, to me, that the aggressiveness thing also goes into the decision to not go for two at the end of the game. That's something I probably would have done as well. But, yeah, it would have been nice if BSJ and Jeremy Chin could not have given up a 41-yard bomb down the sideline in a situation where, that's the only thing that hurts you. That would have been cool. Mitch Tischler, Beltway Football Podcast. What's your guys' schedule this week with the holiday, Mitch?
Yeah, we're going to have a podcast out tomorrow morning or late tonight, and we'll have one on Friday as well. And then Sunday we will have one post-game after the Titans live on the Monumental Sportsnet app. Hopefully we're talking about a Commanders win going into the bye week at 8-5, and they can use that bye week as a springboard for those final four games and hopefully a playoff game in mid-January.
And if not, we're all going to suddenly be asking our bosses for some early December vacation because those 2 weeks are going to be miserable. Mitch Tischler, everybody, with us every Tuesday on The Hoffman Show. Thank you, Mitchell.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
And have a great Thanksgiving. That's Mitch Tischler with us here on The Hoffman Show. We are live at Capital One Arena. And that means that coming up in about 25 minutes or so, Dave Johnson will be live on set with us ahead of Wizards and Bulls tonight. But coming up next here on the Team 980, 5:30 on a Tuesday, this is going to be on the regular schedule, our Take Command Tape Tuesday. Jayden Daniels has a propensity to throw the ball to the right. The Commanders line Terry McLaurin up on the left quite a bit. Is that a problem? Logan Paulson and I discuss next.
pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Jayden Daniels.
Jayden Daniels holds the keys to the Commanders' future.
Daniels is going to walk it in for the touchdown.
Take Command holds the keys to knowing how he played.
In the big moment when you needed to make plays, he just consistently made plays.
It's time for a Take Command Tape Tuesday.
Jayden Daniels just lays it out there perfectly. What a throw.
On the Hoffman Show.
There has been a lot of consternation, Logan, about left side Terry. Terry McLaurin consistently lining up on the left side of the formation. And I have been, and you have been, fairly resistant to the idea that that is some enormous problem, in part because the offense through the first 7-8 weeks was the second most efficient offense in the entire league, and it's only second to a historically great Baltimore offense. Like most years, the way that Washington was operating offensively would make them the best offense in the league the first 7-8 weeks. So how mad can you be? Secondly, Terry's having the best season of his career. So how mad can you be about it if the guy is consistently, producing? And so that all of a sudden starts to fall away a little bit. Obviously, his numbers in this game wind up being okay because he has an 86-yard miracle play at the end of it that kind of saves the stat sheet, if you will, and should have really, or could have saved the game if different decisions or kicks were made. But at the end of it, you do kind of have to go okay, well, is there a point here? Is there an even better version that could be unlocked? And as we were talking about, and I was watching the tape and you and I were texting a little bit, and I was just kind of thinking about, in so many of these key third down situations, Jayden is throwing to Noah Brown on the right. And at what point do you wonder, is there some kind of right side bias with Jayden, in which case left side Terry is an issue, right? You want to get your best player the ball. If your quarterback likes throwing one way, your best receiver lines up on the other side, that would seem like a problem. Well, luckily, Pro Football Focus tracks every throw, and so it made it very easy to go look up. And for those watching on YouTube, I will embed this chart here so that everyone can see it. But for those listening on the podcast, I will simply read. On the distribution of passes, Jayden this year past the line of scrimmage. Actually, I can do totals here on the left side. It's 16, 10, that's 26, plus 14 is 40. He has thrown 50 balls to the left.
with the second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft.
It's got the Cincinnati play was to the right, so I don't know where they counted that. Maybe
Terry, and I've seen him talked about the Skinner to Terry. If Jayden can sit in the pocket, that's probably a completion. They got the deep ball that they missed. They just barely missed. Like, think about if they hit that, are we having the same conversation? And so, he hit some of those versus Pittsburgh. And I think it's 2 weeks in a row where teams, Philly specifically, was a little bit more aware of him. They're kind of rolling coverage that way a little bit more. Dallas, I'd have to go back and watch it again just to kind of confirm that now that we're talking through this. But I'm not that concerned about it now. If this becomes like a multi-game issue, maybe, and again, we're going to watch the film and figure it out. But again, I'm not that worried about it right now. And again, there's more information to kind of be gleaned and figure out, what the root cause of all this is.
Yeah, I guess my only thing is I would hope that they don't have the approach of like, oh, this is good enough. It's fine if there's better available, right? Like, don't let good, like, just don't like, you don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good. You don't want good to be the enemy of better. And so if there's an opportunity to be better, I would hope that they would take that. And that is generally their approach, right? Like, that's what it means to compete as a coach. Yeah. It's to consistently trying to hunt for better. So that is something I think that is worth watching the rest of the season and see if maybe during some of the self-scouting or whatever. I mean, these guys pay attention too. So hi, everybody in Ashburn. If you're paying attention to this, I'm curious what you would think of it. But yeah, I'm excited to go back and watch this a little bit more and see if we can find any more meat on this bone. And perhaps it's something we'll talk about on Thursday, or perhaps it's a good bye week project because the bye week is coming. And they still expect us to do a podcast.
Probably better bye week project.
So what? You got Thanksgiving dinner or something on Thursday?
we could do it on Thanksgiving. It's just gonna take a little bit of time.
Want more from Craig and Logan? Subscribe now on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. More Hoffman Show next on the Team 980 and the free Odyssey app.
We're live at Capital One Arena, which means Dave Johnson's with us on set. How are we doing, sir?
Yeah, Bill well, and love the Capital City Go-Go music, the Chuck Brown. And you were just talking to the break about this time it gets hungry here at Capital One Arena.
Yeah, this is hungry hour.
The preparation is going on for about to open the doors in 10 minutes here at Capital One Arena. So the food is being cooked. And you'll notice I was hanging out by your wonderful position right outside section 106 here. Yeah. And I saw we have a new sponsor, Big Mott's.
Big Mott's
mozzarella sticks.
Yeah, on Wizards Radio.
On Wizards Radio.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I got it. Let me get a picture next to that billboard. I waited 20 minutes and never saw the commercial again. But it's available at Giant, and they're on Wizards Radio. And how's that for a free shameless plug?
There you go. They need more advertising because they're only showing up once every 30 minutes on the thing. We got to talk to the people in charge of the thing.
Yeah, the thing.
The thing over there. The people. They're in charge. And we're not in charge of anything.
The thing is, because people know this now with billboards and screens, it rotates. Whereas once upon a time when I grew up and we walked 10 miles to school in snow,
you just uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways. You just had static billboards. But, technology is changing every moment. I keep hearing this rumor you might even be on YouTube today. So
Dave,
technology is amazing.
I tell you, that's the camera right there.
There we go.
We're live on the internet right now, for better or for worse. Unfortunately for the basketball team that's going to play out there through that hallway, where you're going to describe what happens here on the radio, things have been going mostly for the worse for a better part of a month here in terms of the results, right?
Yeah, and you know what? And I saw somebody, a great listener I hadn't heard from, tweet out about, well, they just keep losing. Well, no, we're on an 11-game losing streak right now. The goal was not to turn it into a 20-game losing streak. This team is trying to win. And it actually, we were looking at some numbers. It is becoming a better defensive team, but not rebounding. And part of defense is rebounding. So, this team will find success, and maybe tonight against the Chicago Bulls. You're actually seeing with Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr on the floor, this defensive improvement. But part of it is, okay, you contested the first shot. You've got to get that rebound. And that's been hurting this team. It is going to be a discovery year. It is going to be a growth year. But you have to celebrate an Alex Sarr getting 17 points and 14 rebounds and 2 blocks and God knows whatever else.
Especially the 14 rebounds, considering where they've been.
Look, they had a chance to win that game in Indianapolis. We're 15 games into the season. You can point to, or I can point to, a couple games against Detroit and New York back-to-back, and that was an end of a stretch. We talked about this, of 7 games in 11 days or whatever it was. And
that feels like the one time they've kind of let go of the rope a little bit, but they hung back on.
Right.
I guess the thing is that I'd be curious about is because you, like in your prep, you're studying this on a more granular level. You're around the team every day in a way that a lot of us are not, especially me right now, considering all the football stuff that I got to do. But, the definition of insanity is repeating the same process and expecting a different result. Right. And when I check the box scores and things, it's like, oh, Alex Sarr tried 4 threes again. And the thing is, the process is actually in a lot of ways correct. Have you been able to see whether it's quarter by quarter? And I actually just re-listened because I'm prepping for something that we're going to do. I was listening back to some things that Michael and Will talked about at the end of last year. And Michael referenced, at the end of the year, we want a significantly higher percentage of our quarters, our halves, things like that. As you've done, kind of been prepping, are there signs somewhere in the data that, yes, they're still losing, but it is closer, and eventually this losing streak is going to come to an end, and maybe even they can string together a couple of wins?
Yeah, there are signs because Indiana, take the other, here's another thing about basketball. You have to make open shots.
Yes.
And so
I've heard.
And I'm not being funny, but it's a fine margin. And I think about the other night when it was tight, all of a sudden Indiana, they make a couple open threes, the Wizards don't. That's the difference in the game, and that's a game where the Wizards had the lead. It was competitive into the third quarter, and then the shots were not falling. And so, the fourth quarter, for example, against Indiana, this is not sexy stuff, but they held Indiana to 23 points. That's great defensively. Problem is you scored 16. That's not great offensively. So this team is going to continue to improve, is what you want to see, and play the right way. And we had a conversation yesterday with Will Dawkins. I talk about some defensive improvement I'm seeing individually, But in general, he's saying, look, no, he's not happy, and part of that is the rebounding it has to get better. And rebounding is not just incumbent on Alex Sarr, who did have 14 rebounds the other night. But, Malcolm Brogdon had that 10-rebound game, I think, Friday.
Right. Kyle's got to be big in that area for
that. And when you look at who they're playing and how many minutes they're playing and the number of minutes of rookies and young players are playing, it is about getting them better. You could make an argument that this team would have already won more games, let's say.
If they were playing Valanciunas 35 minutes a night,
correct.
they would be a more competitive basketball team. That would not be good for them in the long term.
Long term. And that's the example. That's why, because other teams are seeing, he's going to attract a lot of interest. I don't know if he'll be here long term or through this season or what. I know he likes it here, but he understands what the situation is, but there's a lot of teams out there that say, we could use Jonas Valanciunas. So this is part of the process that we said at the beginning of the season, that the roster by the end of the season may have a dramatic difference. We don't know. Yep. And this is what we, again, it's not that they're not accountable or wanting to win, but you can't lose your mind over losing, because that's going to be part of this process.
No, it definitely is. Off the wall to finish here, Dave Johnson, of course, the legendary play-by-play voice of the Wizards, with us here on the Team 980. What's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Favorite Thanksgiving dish? I assume you're saying outside of turkey.
I mean, if you're a turkey guy, that could be your favorite dish.
That is my favorite. Something about the way, and that sounds like, I'm good at stating the obvious, I guess. The other thing I would say, cream corn.
Okay.
Which I would just throw that out there as a wild card.
Okay.
But yeah.
Are you white meat or dark meat on the turkey?
No, and that's the only thing, dark meat. I do like that. So it seems like that's like when you order a turkey sandwich at some of the exotic restaurants I go that are $6 for a foot long. You get what you don't get.
Are they also a sponsor?
I'm not sure, so that's why I left them out there. But it's typically just the white turkey meat, and I do like the dark. So that's reason to look forward to
that, and that's why Dave Johnson likes turkey on Thanksgiving, because he finally gets the dark meat that he is looking for. Dave and Glenn with you tonight?
Yes, he is.
Okay,
Glenn,
has he abandoned you for TV or something?
No,
being a big fancy
he
superstar?
does that. It's his hair. Ever since he got hair implants. No, I was kidding. I'm kidding. Now I'm going to get in trouble. I'm kidding about that.
No one listens to the show.
Chase Hughes is going to be with us tonight for a while. We're going to have a lot of fun. And by the way, if you're with an earshot, our post-game party, the Michelob Ultra post-game party, is at District E. So we're going to be live. So I know you're probably split now. You got to get ready for a podcast tomorrow with Logan Paulson.
Yeah, I got to go home and watch Tennessee Titans tape. Nothing could be more exciting. But I'll try to stick around for a little bit. And that means I get to listen to you on the way home.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. It's Dave Johnson, everybody. When we get back, we're actually this will be our final 45 minutes of the week, because we got Maryland hoops tomorrow.
Oh wow!
Knocking us off the air, Dave. So we have to do our NFL picks. So we're going to do that in combination with our Competition Wednesday. So we're going to pick every game, 3 of them each for Anthony and I against the spread. That is next as we wrap up here live from Capital One Arena on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980, where there is a dancing Anthony Haney on your screen. Anthony, you would not be as happy if you were here at Capital One Arena right now.
Why not?
Because there's a Cowboys fan filling out our information in front of me. We have all these slips of paper that people can enter to win Wizards tickets.
Oh, wow.
Sir, you've already won one too many things in D.C. this week. I mean, you're really pushing your luck filling out this form, but I mean, it's a random drawing, so you might win. And frankly, the way the Cowboys play, they got a better chance of winning a random drawing than a football game. They just happen to, win one on Sunday. All right. So here's what we're going to do with the final 45 minutes of the show here. Obviously, yeah, I saw your jacket, sir. I saw your jacket. Have a lovely day, and thanks for listening. I'm sure you're having a lovely day. All right, that's enough out of you. All right. I'm happy for you because I'm in the Thanksgiving spirit. All right, so here's what we're going to do with the final 45 minutes of our show today. We are going to do our Competition Wednesday, if you will, coming up next in about 10, 12 minutes from now, where Anthony and I are going to pick 3 games each against the spread. We're going to do this backwards from how we normally do, because normally we do what we're about to do right now on Fridays, but that would be after a ton of games have been played, and we don't have a show on Friday, so we can't really pick the entirety of the week of games on Friday for those reasons. So without further ado, as we sit here 2 days before 3 games, another game on Friday, and then the full complement on Sunday. There are no bye weeks this week in the NFL. It is time for us to go around the NFL and pick each and every game. And Anthony, our goal is to do this in 10 minutes or less. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Excellent. First up, 12:30, CBS on Thursday. Bears and Lions. Detroit is a 10-point favorite in this game. I will say the Bears have been playing better. The Lions have had some weird Thanksgiving games, even in the last couple of years when they've been good. But I'm going to take Detroit in this football game because they're Detroit and Chicago is Chicago.
Yeah, I'm going with Detroit as well. They've been rolling, and I think they'll continue to roll, even on a short week.
All right, the guy in the Cowboys jacket's gone. I'll probably running back around the corner now, which as we pick the Giants and Cowboys. Also known as this is a good time to eat dinner game because no one wants to watch Giants and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. This game's going to be horrendous. It's Cooper Rush versus Tommy Cutlets. What are we doing? This is not what the NFL had in mind. Dallas is 3.5-point favorites. I'm picking the Cowboys.
Oh, so they're at home? I'm going with the Cowboys as well.
Yeah. Why? Because the Giants are terrible. Brian Dable's having to have meetings with Malik Neighbors saying, hey, I know you want the ball more, but, can you not say it to the press after the game? Can you not say, hey, go talk to Dabes? And it's like, yeah, but it's your job, bro. Thankfully, the Thursday night game has been saved. This game looked a couple weeks ago like it was going to be terrible. It was going to be some quarterback for the Dolphins team that wasn't any good against Malik Willis. Well, thankfully, Jordan Love is healthy, Tua is healthy, and all of a sudden these two teams are rolling. Dolphins and Packers at Lambeau on Thursday night. Packers are 3.5-point favorites. Again, we're picking these games straight up. Who you got?
I'm going with the Packers. You know how the Dolphins are when they play in conditions that are not 60 degrees and above. So I'm going with the Packers here.
Here's the thing. They're actually better recently. Even that game last year against the Chiefs, they played okay. The game was fingers are going to fall off weather, and they played okay. They played Buffalo really tough last year in a cold weather game. They still have lost, and I'm going to pick the Packers to win.
I was about to say, that's my point. They lose those games regardless.
Yeah, but it's not like they fail to function like they did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Speaking of failing to function, the Raiders are playing the Chiefs on Friday. Anthony, pop quiz. What time is this football game? The Black Friday Jeff Bezos Amazon special.
5:30.
It's a 3 o'clock game.
3 o'clock? What in
3
the world?
p.m. on a Friday. Why? Because money. That's why. The Raiders are 12.5-point dogs against the Chiefs. 1, 2, 3. Chiefs. Okay. We could have gone real Andy Reid there in the locker room. Chiefs. And then we
Is
would
it on Netflix by chance?
It's not on it's on Prime Video.
Oh,
the Netflix game is the Christmas game. That's also the Chiefs. That one's on a Wednesday. No, I don't know what time of day that game is going to be. I'm guessing Christmas night. Anyway, man, The NFL does a lot of stuff for money, don't they?
Yeah,
Sunday, full slate of games. Again, the buys are not over for the year because, the Commanders' buy isn't until next week. But there are no buys this weekend, so that they didn't have a super light Sunday slate with the 4 games leading into the weekend. Chargers and Falcons. Chargers are 2.5-point favorites on the road against Atlanta. They obviously got ultimately dump trucked in the second half by the Ravens last night. That doesn't scare me that much. I think the Ravens are still one of the best 3 teams in football. So I am going to take the Chargers here because I can't trust the Falcons. I trust the Falcons as far as I can throw them, and it's a large collection of 300-pound men. I can't throw them very far.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers as well. They have an identity. I think the injury to J.K. Dobbins is something to monitor, but
definitely,
I think the Chargers will get it done.
Definitely. Steelers and Bengals. And, Anthony, we have reached our first edition of Guess the Line today. Who do you think is favored in this game, Steelers and Bengals?
Who's at home?
The Bengals.
The Steelers are favored.
Incorrect. The Bengals are favored. The
What?
Bengals are 3-point favorites in this game, which tells you that Vegas thinks it's a pick 'em plus the 3 for Cincinnati being at home. I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game. I just think that all of the stuff that Pittsburgh does that's really dangerous. I know that the Steelers have a rest advantage. I know they're really good. This is not me being off the Steelers. It's just like the interior pressure and the things that Pittsburgh does don't matter as much against Joe Burrow. Give me the Bengals. They need this game.
You are right, Craig, but guess what? I don't trust the Bengals defense. Give me the Steelers. Come on, man.
I don't trust the Steelers offense. You just moon balls forever.
Balls and a lot of running.
Yeah. Mediocre running. Cardinals and Vikings. Minnesota 3.5-point favorites at home.
This is going to be ugly. I think I want to go with the Cardinals here. I think Kyler will give that Viking front some problems.
Yeah, I am curious to see which version of Kyler shows up. The Seahawks really blitzed the mess out of him last week and had a lot of success. And, nobody blitzes more than Brian Flores. I am going to take the Vikings at home. Okay. I think the Cardinals defense, I don't trust them a whole lot. I also think JJ could have a monster day. He played good soldier, and he's a great teammate. But he only had 2 catches last week. They're going to try to get Justin Jefferson the football. The Colts, your boys, on the road in New England. They're 2.5-point favorites over Drake May, who has 10 touchdowns and 7 picks on the year.
The Colts got to win out, Craig. They got to win out. So I'm going with the Goats. I have faith in my guys to make the playoffs. Let's get it done this week.
I have no idea what to do with this Patriots team. Just when you think that they're doing something okay, they get upside down. The Colts, they actually played better. Richardson played better than the stat sheet last week. A ton of drops. So hopefully he can get going. I'm going to take Indy as well. Seahawks and Jets, the Jamal Adams Bowl. Even though he's not on either team anymore. Is he even in the league anymore? Anyway, the point is that the Seahawks are only favored by 2 on the road at New York. Bit of a stinky fish, but I'm never picking the Jets ever again. So go Seahawks, go.
I'm going to do something that I said I wouldn't do, Craig, and that's
You're going to pick the Jets.
And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be burned again.
Probably, but that's okay. Titans and Commanders. Washington 5.5-point favorites at home. We obviously have not had a chance to talk about this game a whole lot because we're still busy reviewing the last one. But if you want a full preview of this game, we will have a full Take Command podcast previewing the entirety of this matchup that will be out Thursday morning, our Thanksgiving gift to you. We're going to record it tomorrow, schedule it for Thursday morning. So we will have a full preview then with me and Logan Paulson. However, on the quick picks as we run through the league's picks, we are going to pick this game now, which we normally don't do in this segment. Anthony, I'm going to take the Commanders to get off the schneid here, get off their 3-game losing streak. Tennessee presents some problems, but they also have a lot of problems.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Commanders as well. We can't lose 4 straight. 4 straight will be.
He's going ladies and gentlemen. He's going the full on that. Yes. Texans and Jags. Houston's 5-point favorites, despite the fact they just lost to Tennessee. The Jags, they mostly stink. Who you got in this AFC South barn burner? As in, if you're watching this in your barn, some of you kind of wish it was on fire so you wouldn't have to watch the game anymore. Sorry, I had to evacuate my barn. It was on fire.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Texans. CJ, I think this is a proven game for him. Like, a lot of people are down on him. I think he has to come out and have a big game. Put the team on his back.
Their offensive line has got to get it together. It is not good enough. And, like, they've got some good players. Like, Laramie Tunsil is one of the best tackles in football, or at least he's supposed to be. Not so much. Rams and Saints.
Who are you going with?
I'm going to go with Houston. Okay. I have zero faith, negative faith in the Jags. Rams and Saints. There's only 2.5 point line here for the Rams on the road. I'm not going to overreact to what just happened to them. I still think the Saints are kind of a terrible football team, even though they've got the Riz now. I'm gonna go with LA on the road here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams as well. They got a lot of work to do out there in the NFC West, and it needs to start with one of these wins.
Buccaneers and Panthers. All of a sudden, the Panthers are spicy. But you want to know who's really spicy? Baker Mayfield. Woke up feeling dangerous. Give me Tampa on the road at Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bucs as well. Yeah.
Game of the week, Eagles, Ravens. Baltimore 3-point favorites after their win last night. Actually, they were 3-point favorites before yesterday, so last night didn't even move this line at all. CBS 425 game, Anthony. Who you got in the America's game of the week?
I'm going to go with the Ravens here. A lot of people haven't really been able to slow Saquon down. I think the Ravens, they're going to be the first team to do it.
I kind of agree with you. I mean, the Eagles, I now firmly believe in the Eagles, but Saquon just had a career day. Baltimore will not let him do that. They will, if they have to put 9 in the box, they will. Yeah. They will make Jalen Hurts win this football game. By the way, Lamar Jackson already on the season. 3,053 yards, 27 touchdowns, 3 picks.
He's going for his third straight MVP.
He's got 27 touchdowns, and that's just passing. Yeah, insane. Also, Saquon has almost 1,400 yards already.
He's breaking the record this year.
It's crazy. 49ers and Bills. Bills 7-point favorites at home. I'll take them.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills. 49ers too banged up.
And last but not least, Browns and Broncos. Denver's 5-point favorites, whatever it's worth. Give me Denver. I do not believe in the Browns at all. There is a chance that Jameis Winston throws 17 interceptions in this game because that's how good the Broncos defense is, and that's how the pendulum swings from a good Jameis to a bad Jameis. All right, those are our picks all around the NFL. We are going to pick 3 of these games each next and pick them against the spread for our competition Wednesday. Plus, one of us will have to spin the wheel of mediocre punishment. And actually, I owe Anthony a spin from last week. So Anthony's going to spin the wheel for me now that I can see him spin it. So we will deal out the punishment for picking football games badly. Next, it's the Hoffman Show. We're live at Capital One Arena here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're live here from Capital One Arena on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. So we will quickly go through our results from last week's competition Wednesday here on a Tuesday because we don't have a show tomorrow because of Maryland Hoops in our spot, and then obviously it's Thanksgiving on Thursday. So we are going to run through our picks from last week, and then we're going to pick some other games off the slate here as we wrap up the show on our NFL picks. So Anthony, who is back in our control room in D.C., has the wheel of mediocre punishment behind him. Anthony, should we, before we reveal this week's results, have you spin the wheel for me from last week? Or are we just going to wait till I get back in on Monday? Or even next Wednesday? Do we wait for the spin?
Yeah, I think we wait.
Okay. Well, in that case, I owe the show a spin. We'll get that taken care of. All right, which means it's time to reveal the results of last week's selections and see if I'm going to owe the show 2 spins or whether Anthony will owe the show 1. Anthony, your week started very poorly last week because you started off with a Thursday Night Football loss, one that actually saved me from myself. You won for the first time last week in 5 weeks. That meant you were first on the tee. You picked Pittsburgh minus 3.5. They did not only cover that, they lost the game outright to the Browns on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, that was bad stuff. Very bad stuff. But
that is, not ideal for you.
No.
My first game was the Detroit Indianapolis game. The Lions were 7-point favorites by the time that we picked that. They won by, I think it was 18. I think it was 24-6.
Yep.
That is 1-0 for your boy.
Yeah.
1-0 for me.
Good job, Trey.
Thanks, Anthony. The second game you picked was the Tampa Bay game. That worked out well for you. They beat the ever-loving tar out of the New York Giants. They only needed to win by 6. They won by far more than that.
Yep.
So that's 1-1 for you.
Yep.
I had the Chicago Bears plus 3.5 against the Minnesota Vikings. And let me tell you, Anthony, that half point did a lot of work for me.
Yeah, it did.
Because they won on they lost, I should say, on an overtime walk-off field goal, which is a 3-point play, and that means that's a cover for the Chicago Bears and a 2-0 start to the week for me.
I'm proud of you, Craig.
You should be. Thank you very much. Then Anthony, you picked the Kansas City Chiefs minus 10.5 against the Carolina Panthers. They won by 3. Is 10.5 greater than 3?
No.
Nope, not in this particular case. That's a 1-2 week for you, which already means that I have won. But just to add insult to injury for you, Anthony, I picked the Denver Broncos to cover 6 points against the Las Vegas Raiders. They also won by 1 million. That's a 3-0 week again for me. I have bounced back successfully. I am very good at this game, it seems. Anthony, the wheel is behind you. You are going to need to spin the wheel of mediocre punishment once again, something that you are very well acquainted in doing. For those that are new to the show, on this wheel, Anthony might have to buy me lunch. I might be able to we'll put fantasy sub back on there. I might be able to make a sub in his fantasy football lineup. He might have to do 100 push-ups in a row. He might also have to do an ice bath, which would be his 3rd that he owes the show. What else is on there? Oh, and also, we haven't spun costume show yet. There's a chance that Anthony might have to wear a silly costume for part of the radio show, which broadcasts live on YouTube. Metal Chris likes that one? You like Metal Chris is hoping that you get the costume show, Anthony. We're really only probably going to make him wear it for a couple of segments because with our luck, some serious breaking news will happen, and then Anthony will be dressed like a clown. Anthony, I can see the wheel. It's time for you to spin. Please spin the wheel. The wheel is spinning, spinning, and spinning, spinning. Anthony has rolled that he must. Good God, you spun this thing hard. He owes me lunch. Yeah, a win for me. Although it's not as entertaining as some of the other things, like if he had to wear a costume on the radio. But Anthony, I look forward to you buying me lunch again next week. Thanks for losing again, buddy, old pal.
I don't know what it is about this game, Craig. I just can't get right.
Nope. You make some interesting decisions, then you have to live with them. Anthony's 1-2. And hilariously, by the way, I think this is like the third time this has happened. Had this gone to the tiebreaker, Anthony, you would have won because you did win the tiebreaker. It didn't get to the tiebreaker because you went 1-2 and I went 3-0. Coming up next, we will pick our games for this week as we wrap up here on the Hoffman Show. Anthony, it's Tuesday. I know this is our last segment of the week, but it's Tuesday. You can't do that to the people driving down the road. Most people still have to work tomorrow. We just don't because there's a Maryland basketball game on tomorrow.
I don't want to rub this in, but this is our Friday, Craig.
This is our Friday.
I apologize.
Chris Russell and Grant Paulson were so mad at me in the Commander's press box this weekend that I don't have to do a show tomorrow. But here we are. We're live at Capital One Arena, taking in Bulls and Wizards NBA Cup tonight after we finish our very silly radio show here, the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. What's up? We're on YouTube as well at the Team 980. There are a lot of Bulls fans here, by the way. We got to get the Wiz fans in the building. But lots of Bulls fans showing out. But, hey, it's what it is. People enjoying their holiday week here in the district. But, Anthony, we have one thing to take care of here in terms of business for the week. We have done our NFL tiers. We have picked all of the games. we must let Competition Wednesday roll on, even though it's Tuesday. And so we are going to pick 3 games each against the spread. And hopefully for you, it'll go better than it did last week.
Yeah, hopefully for me, it does go better than it did last week. I'm looking forward to it, actually.
All right. I'm up first this week. I'm back on the tee first. And there's some funky ones on the board this week. And do I want to start with that game? I don't want to start with that game. Don't want to start with really. I'm gonna start with. I'm gonna start with the Sunday night game. The Sunday night game is San Francisco at Buffalo. And I just don't think the San Francisco 49ers are a very good football team right now. I think they're missing a ton of pieces. The Bills are coming off a bye. Buffalo is up to I can't do Buffalo -7. Oh, my God.
I mean, you could.
I could, but that would be a silly thing to do. You want to know what? Screw it. Friday, the Raiders, who are terrible, are taking on the Chiefs, who are good. But it's a 12.5-point line in the division game. Give me the Raiders.
Yeah, I was looking at that game. I was definitely looking at that game.
I hate doing this so much, but 12.5 in a division game is an absurd line.
Yeah, especially coming off the Commanders and Cowboys. I think I want to choose the Rams 2.5 over the Saints. I don't think the Saints are good at all.
I don't know what to make of these new Saints plus Riz. Their coach. I don't think they're any good. I hope they're not good. The Commanders are going to face them in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But there's that. You know what? If I'm going to do Vegas plus 12.5 because it's a division game, then I kind of have to do a Thursday bit too.
They're clear.
The Lions last year were really good. They were facing a Packers team that was really struggling. I think this was last year. It might have been 2 years ago. They were facing a Packers team that was really struggling, and then the Packers beat them, and it made no sense at all. I don't think the Bears are going to win, but the Bears have a nasty habit the last couple of weeks of losing by 3. It's a division game. It's a 10-point line. It's already come down. It was 11 yesterday. I'm going to take Chicago plus 10. And at the end of the day, even though I'm betting on bad football teams against good football teams, I'm getting double-digit points in NFL games. That feels like a good bet.
Hey, them Thursday games are weird, man.
They are weird. But they probably go to like a sloppier game. Like, is Detroit going to put up, famous last words, is Detroit going to put up 50 on Thanksgiving? Who knows? They might. They're really good. But I think the Chicago defense is good enough that this can, I mean, look, they could lose by 9 and get a late, they could be down 17 and get a late touchdown 2-point conversion. It's all of a sudden 9 and I win the game. Backdoor cover style.
That's fair. I think I'm going to go with another 2.5-point spread. I really like that half a point hook. Chargers over the Falcons. I'm going to take the Chargers 2.5. -2. Well, minus.
So you're looking at it as if it was 3, that would be bad for you, but that 2.5 is helping.
Yeah.
All right. LA, we got Anthony taking the Chargers.
Come on.
Minus 2.5. I just want to stay as far away from the Falcons as I can. That is a wild football team. I don't know what to make of them on any week they show up, because they don't know what to make of them on any week that they show up, which is hilarious because the Chargers might be the most consistent team in the league.
Yep.
By the way, that is one thing, not to talk you out of it, but rest here. Falcons coming off a bye, Chargers coming off a Monday night, so that's a little bit dangerous. And then last but not least, I don't love any of these other games. I mean, part of me wants to take the Cincinnati minus the 3, but
Commanders.
I don't. 5.5. I actually on the first impression selection show, I picked Tennessee to cover. I'm taking the Commanders in the game, as we just did our picks straight up in the last segment.
Yeah.
But 5.5 scares me a little bit with the way they're playing right now, and kind of this conservative type of game plan they're going. I'm just gonna ride my emotional wave. Nothing would make me happier than seeing the Jets lose again. They're a dumpster fire that is pouring kerosene on themselves. The Seahawks are only a 2-point favorite. They want me to take the Jets. I refuse. Give me Seattle -2. Why? Because I hate the Jets. Geno Smith revenge. I don't even like Geno Smith. Geno Smith revenge game. Give me the Seahawks -2.
You taking the Seahawks?
Yeah.
All right, bet. Last game, Craig. I'm sticking with the -2.5 point spread.
Okay.
Give me the Colts over the Patriots. Colts win by a field goal.
Anthony, can I tell you something?
Uh-oh.
On the first impression selection show, I definitely picked New England in this game to cover. It was 3. So we could both be right in a way. I guess one of us could. I guess I could have a push, and you could be right. But
yeah,
we'll see.
I hope I'm right.
I kind of hope you're not because I like being right. But we'll see. Then we need one game as a tiebreaker.
Ooh.
We need a tiebreaker game.
The Commanders Titans. I think we cover the spread. You don't.
I hope they win by 4.
I hope they win by 6.
And I hope it's a backdoor cover, so it's like a comfortable win, and then it's as painful as possible for you. But then they win.
Watch me win by 6, Greg.
Hey, you want to know what? I will take a win, especially a big one going into a bye.
Say less.
I will do that. All right, so you've got that means I've got Tennessee plus. It's 5.5, right?
Yep.
All right, Tennessee plus 5.5. So competition Wednesday picks on a Tuesday because we're not doing a show on Wednesday. I have the Chicago Bears plus 10. Why? Because it's plus 10. The Las Vegas Raiders plus 12.5. Why? Not because they're good, but because it's 12.5 in a division game. And then I have got the Seahawks -2. Anthony, why? Because I'm picking against the Jets. Anthony has the Chargers -2.5, the Colts -2.5, and the Rams -2.5. And then the tiebreaker, head-to-head, Titans, Commanders. I'm on the Titans plus 5.5, although I think the Commanders will win outright, which is the more important thing in the long run. The Commanders -5.5 for Anthony. Any questions from the audience? No? Okay.
This is the weekend of the kicker, Craig. You've heard it here first.
The week of the good kickers or bad kickers? Because we had a lot of bad kicker weekends in the NFL. It's kind of a wacky bit.
Yeah, good kickers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Field goal wins for Anthony. That's what he's going for. All right, that's our show. There's 90 seconds left in it. Anthony, do we have time for a real things thing?
Not really, because it's really a minute and 10 seconds.
Oh, the Pharrell one from yesterday?
Nah, it was the one, the Commanders. What time do you eat Thanksgiving dinner?
Okay, so they did on the Commanders' Instagram page, they asked all their players, what time do you eat Thanksgiving dinner? And this is a good way for us to end our show going into Thanksgiving. Anthony, what time do you eat Thanksgiving dinner?
I eat around like 4:30.
Okay, see, that's probably a little later than I typically do, but like that's kind of within the range.
Yeah.
I said that initially, I feel like, to Rachel, and she's like, no, we don't. And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. But it's kind of that, like sometime at the start of that second game, sometime at the beginning of the Cowboys game. Like, that's the correct answer. When the Cowboys start playing, that's when you go eat Thanksgiving dinner, and then you watch the second half. Or perhaps you put it on in the background.
Yeah, that's
this year. You don't have to put it on in the background because you might feel ill. It's Cowboys Giants. That game is upsetting.
Yeah, I don't like it too much, but I'm looking forward to it. Hey, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Ooh, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I used to mac and cheese is an obvious correct answer, but I can't eat as much mac and cheese as I used to because I can't really eat cheese.
I know. I like mac and cheese
Damn shame.
with the candy yams.
Oh, that's a great call. All right, that's our show. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you next Monday. Take command out Thursday. Have a good one.